So we have just a few minutes, but I have a couple of questions for you both. So my first question is, what are one or two of the top design flaws that you see in cities every day, and how can cities work to address those flaws?
For me, one of the biggest design flaws I encounter again and again is wayfinding. The inability to find my ways without talking to people. It's less so with Google Maps, but I still encounter situations like trying to take the New York Metro, and I need to go east, and the two options are uptown or downtown. So I guess the best way that we can look at that is to try and think from the perspective of, when we design, from the perspective of people with disabilities. And
Zuby?
I will go with sidewalks. They've been around for ages. But since I don't drive, I noticed that on some sidewalks, I could walk maybe half a mile, and then all of a sudden, there's no more sidewalk. It's amazing, right? We have all these huge, beautiful, fantastic buildings. What's up with the sidewalk? And as if that's not enough, scooters. Now, am I against scooters? Absolutely not. I think it's great. I live in Austin. South by Southwest, oh my gosh, scooters would be great. But here's the problem. Right now, I need my white cane maybe 20% of the time, so I kind of get by. Maybe tomorrow I'll need it 100% of the time. So I'm going to orient myself to the bus stop, and then my white cane is going to be stuck in something. Now remember, I'm not seeing it. So here are my options. I could yank it and break it, where now I have nothing, or yank it and I lose my tip, now I have a half-functioning white cane. Neither of those options are good for me. But what if the people putting those scooters took up the voices of the visually impaired? We'll tell them, well, why don't you just build a nice circular patch with, a standing thing and store the scooters vertically. The users of the scooters can see well enough to go grab it, go wherever they're going, and store it back on the hanger, and leave the sidewalks for us. And we keep begging the city to extend and put the remaining missing sidewalk. So sidewalks, yeah, need some work.
That's a great example. Thank you. Okay, next question. So what are some of the challenges in designing for the broad spectrum of disabilities that exist?
Well, obviously, one big challenge is that you have so many different types of disabilities that you're trying to accommodate. But inclusive design is about finding a variety of ways to access an experience. And when we do design those variety of ways, often we're designing for everybody when they find themselves in a context where they have a momentary disability, as I said in my talk. One example is in our subway, we often have stairs, we have escalators and elevators, all three. Now, if you have nothing preventing you from walking, you would probably take the stairs, and especially if you're health nut. But if you have a suitcase with you the escalator is probably great for you. But then say you have a kid in a stroller with you. The escalator is going to be hard, so you need the elevator. So when we design a variety of ways, we're often helping us all as we move about our world and find ourselves in different contexts. And this is especially important in smart city design because our futures are changing at unprecedented rates. And we can't anticipate how we will act in the future. If you think about how cell phones has changed how we walk around our cities, that's an example of why designing those bumps by the subway platform are helpful, so we don't fall in.
I'll go with awareness, and I'll go with data, and I'll go with inclusive input. During my talk, I gave you an idea of what my car would look like if I manufactured it. So what if only people like myself were at the decision-making tables of manufacturing cars? That means everybody will have to contend with coconut pods on wheels, whether you like it or not. So it's true that there's a spectrum of disabilities. That's true. But why don't we include those people, right, that it affects at the decision-making table so that we can get their input. That way, we will not build a very tall, nice glass building that Sasha in a wheelchair will not be able to get into. We will not design a nice, beautiful convention center that's 80,000 square feet that Chieko Asakawa cannot navigate. We will not design auditoriums that somebody like Elise will have a hard time understanding what's going on because there's no captioning. So it's all about just awareness, getting folks that have the problems at the decision-making table so you can get their input. And when you come out with a product, it's going to reflect everyone's desire.
And I think I have time for just one more question. So are there any cities that are doing a great job with design? And what can other cities learn from them?
I know that New York has started to undertake a redesign of their city and is very into ensuring it's inclusive. They have a great leader named Victor Elise. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing the last name right. And so they've been very active in ensuring inclusion. One example would be their island. It's like where they converted an old railroad track into a walking space. And it's beautiful. And they worked with people with disabilities to design that space. And I wish I had photos to show you. But it's beautiful because they saw disability as a way to challenge their thinking. They didn't see it as this annoying constraint where they ended up placing these ugly, bars or whatever. They saw it as a challenge. And often, as designers, we actually produce our best designs when we're forced to work under constraints.
True.
Well, I'm from Austin, Book of Horns, right? So I'm gonna talk about my city. I don't think I've actually come across one particular city that has all the elements that I can think of, but I do know that Austin is trying. I do know that there's something called Austin, I believe it's called City Up, and it's the Smart City Initiative, where there are forums and gatherings, and the intention is to get input from a wide variety of people and find out from them what will this city of the future look like that can include all of us and that can serve all of us better. So I'd say that Austin is trying because it actually has launched this initiative and is trying to get input from everybody else. But I don't think I've come across a city that I can say it's fantastically designed and can work for everybody right now.
Well, I hope at future City of the Future events that will have changed. Thank you both so much for joining us today and starting this conversation for us. We really appreciate it.